What happens when an ordinary man, burdened by a life of struggle, is tempted by millions within his reach? Join StatesofAmbition as we unravel the jaw-dropping story of David Gaunt and the 1997 Loomis Fargo bank heist, a crime that sparked an international manhunt and inspired a Hollywood blockbuster. Get ready for a wild ride. Welcome to StatesofAmbition, where we dive into stories of dreams, risks, and redemption that shape lives and nations. Today we're exploring the incredible tale of David Gaunt, a man who went from guarding millions to stealing them, and paid a heavy price. If you're new here, hit subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss a story that inspires you to chase your dreams the right way. Let's jump in. The man behind the millions. David Gaunt was an ordinary guy with big dreams but empty pockets. A Gulf War veteran who served his country with pride, he worked as a vault supervisor for Loomis Fargo, a security firm tasked with transporting millions of dollars between banks. Day in and day out, David handled stacks of cash, yet his own paycheck was a meager $8 per hour. Working 75-80 hours a week, he barely scraped by, carrying the weight of family responsibilities and a growing sense of frustration. This grueling routine left David restless, yearning for something more. The temptation of the millions he guarded daily began to stir dangerous thoughts. Could he break free from his struggles by crossing a line he'd never dared to before? The spark of a dangerous plan. Enter Kelly Campbell, a bold and charismatic co-worker at Loomis Fargo. David and Kelly struck up a friendship that grew beyond office hours, even after Kelly left the company. One fateful day, Kelly introduced David to Steve Chambers, a small-time criminal with big ambitions. When Steve learned David had access to Loomis Fargo's vault, a reckless idea took shape, a daring heist to steal millions. Steve and Kelly worked to convince David, painting vivid pictures of a life filled with luxury and freedom. For David, already worn down by his dead-end job and fueled by desperation, their words were like a match to dry tinder. Though he'd never committed a crime before, the promise of a better life was too tempting to resist. The stage was set for one of the biggest bank heists in American history. A flawed master plan. The plan was deceptively simple, almost laughably so. On the night of October 4th, 1997, David would stay late at the Loomis Fargo vault. He'd disable 2 security cameras, remove their tapes, load the company van with cash, and drive away. David would then flee to Mexico with $10,000, the maximum amount allowed across the border without declaration. The rest of the loot would stay with Steve to be split equally once the heat died down. But the plan had a fatal flaw. Why would Steve, a cunning opportunist, share millions with David after he fled? Blinded by greed and trust, David overlooked this risk. His desperation clouded his judgment, setting the stage for betrayal. The night of the heist. At 6:08 p.m. on October 4th, 1997, David sent his trainee staff home, leaving him alone with the vault. Heart pounding, he disabled 2 security cameras and removed their tapes, but missed a hidden third camera in the corner. Unaware, David began loading cash into the van, mostly 20 bills totaling over 800,000 notes or 8,000 bundles. For 2 grueling hours, he worked alone, hauling $17.3 million, an amount that made this the second-largest cash heist in U.S. history at the time. When the van was loaded, David's excitement bubbled over. He danced in the vault, unaware that the third camera was recording every move. That dance would later become his undoing. The fallout. The next morning, Loomis Fargo employees found the vault keys missing and David nowhere to be found. Police were called, and security footage confirmed their suspicions. David was the prime suspect. The third camera's footage, showing David's dance and frequent pager messages, revealed he had accomplices. The FBI launched a massive manhunt. 2 days later, agents found the cash van abandoned in a forest, with $3 million still inside, likely left behind due to time constraints and the sheer weight of the cash. The remaining $14 million, mostly unmarked $20 bills, was untraceable. David, sticking to the plan, had fled to a luxury beach resort in Mexico with $10,000, while Steve held the rest. The hunt intensifies. The FBI ran newspaper ads offering a $500,000 reward for information on the heist. They urged the public to report anyone suddenly flaunting wealth. Tips flooded in, and one stood out. A neighbor reported Steve Chambers, who'd recently bought a lavish house, a BMW, and luxury goods with his wife, Michelle. The FBI investigated and found Steve and Michelle had deposited large sums of 20 bills after October 4th. When a bank teller revealed Michelle asked about deposit limits to avoid federal reporting, the FBI's suspicions solidified. They tapped Steve's phone and uncovered a chilling plot. Steve and an accomplice, Mike McKinney, were planning to kill David in Mexico to keep the entire haul. Mike, arrested soon after, spilled everything. He revealed David's location and how they ID transferred the cash to another vehicle at a printing press parking lot where Steve worked. Shockingly, the forest where the van was abandoned was near Steve's office and just miles from Loomis Fargo's warehouse. A careless mistake. Justice and redemption. Within 10 days, the FBI had identified the entire crew, but they waited 5 months to gather solid evidence. On March 1, 1998, David was arrested in Mexico. The next day, Steve, Michelle, and Kelly were apprehended in Charlotte, North Carolina. The FBI recovered 88% of the stolen $17.3 million, with the rest squandered by Steve on luxury purchases. Steve received an 11-year sentence, while David got 7 years and was held liable for the missing $3 million, money he never spent. In 2016, the heist inspired the Hollywood film Masterminds, where David worked as a consultant but received no payment, as any earnings would go toward his debt under U.S. law. Today, David Gant lives in Jacksonville, Florida, with his wife and children working as a construction worker. He's active on social media, sharing his story to teach others about the consequences of bad choices. His journey reminds us that shortcuts to success often lead to ruin, but redemption is possible through honest work and reflection. What a wild story of ambition, betrayal, and lessons learned. David Gant's tale shows that true success comes from integrity, not shortcuts. Have you seen Masterminds or been inspired by this heist? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'll pin the best one. If this story moved you, give it a thumbs up, share it with friends, and subscribe to States Ambition for more tales of triumphs and lessons. Keep chasing your dreams the right way, and we'll see you in the next video.